enjoy this ancient beverage.
Sister Bees looks forward to seeing you soon.
102.7 WMOM and Hot Country Hits 99.9. Welcome. Good morning. This gentleman that we're going to have on here in the next few minutes, we had a chance to meet last night at Stix. And Chase, I had a chance. You were out a little bit late because you had your concert, which is good, which isn't a bad thing. But this morning I woke up and I said, I want to learn a little bit about this guy that we're going to be talking about because we know his music, which is fantastic. We're going to be talking about that this morning. But for our listeners, both on 102.7 WMOM and Hot Country Hits 99.9, we want to know a little bit about you and where you have come from. You had some struggles in your life. You have some triumphs to celebrate. But first of all, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be in Ludington, Michigan, and it was an honor to play at Stix last night. Beautiful venue, and thankful for everyone who came out and spent their evenings with me, man. It was a wonderful night. So.
It's kind of fun, isn't it, to be able to interact with the listeners, be able to, when you were singing up there, I was noticing that, as with any concert, they were singing along with you. Yeah. From that perspective, when you look down on a crowd in that front row especially, what are you thinking?
There's nothing in the world that fills my soul up the same. Mm-hmm. It's just what a beautiful way for souls to connect through music. It's been that way my whole life. I felt like I've known people through music, and then now I think I feel like we get to feel like we know each other through the music that I'm making now. Mm-hmm. And it's we stayed up late last night. We had a great time, mm-hmm. and I'm one of those guys that I struggle to sleep after the show because my soul remembers just everybody that I meet. And, sometimes whether I want to or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, my mind is just like a book of reading every page of every person that's every face that I've met that night. And, it's just there's nothing else that I could ever do, I think, and be as happy as I am when I'm on that stage. So.
Yeah. I brought up the point about staying up late a little bit because you got a show tonight.
Oh, yeah.
and most people would say, hey, you got to get your sleep, but you're going to be able to do a little bit of that, I would assume, in your travels today or checking into the hotel, or you just have that adrenaline that keeps you going?
You know what? You run on a lot of adrenaline and Diet Coke and coffee. I'll sleep when I'm old. So mm-hmm. I'm living on adrenaline these days, and I catch up on sleep when I get back to Nashville. The first day, and then I'm back at it. So
absolutely. What I know about you, I'm gonna just throw you some questions. Grew up in Greensburg, Kentucky, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes,
you have 7 siblings, or six brothers and sisters, and you are the oldest. You are. How old, can I ask?
Yeah, I'm 28 years old.
Okay, so you have a lot of work on your shoulders, or a lot of expectations, right, for your siblings. What's that like?
Growing up the oldest, sometimes I wish I didn't grow up the oldest because I had to figure everything out first.
Mm-hmm.
When you're the oldest, you don't have nobody to go to for advice other than some of the elders in the family. And sometimes that's scary, know. But I just try to make a space for me and my younger siblings that the things that we've went through together, and I get it. So if you need somebody, come to me. It's just open, open communication kind of thing. And, I craved that when I was 12, 13 years old. I needed that. So I try to be that for them, whenever possible.
And as a DJ, as a lover of music in general, we look at artists and we think, they were born into that. But in your particular case, you had a few different tracks that you were going into. You went to college for a couple months for psychology, right?
Yeah. Well, I've said this actually a lot the last 24 hours. It keeps coming up. I was not a good musician. I was not a good singer when I first started. And I think a lot of that was just nerves. I loved music so much, but getting in front of people and singing was one of the scariest things that anybody could do. Mm-hmm. And so I think for a long time that people thought this was the last thing that I was ever going to do.
Yeah,
even in my family, I'd get up and sing in church and my knees would just be hitting each other. I'd be be so nervous. So I worked a lot of blue collar jobs. I poured concrete, blacktop parking lots. Did all that, worked in a lumberyard, and figured out that I was I became better at music, and I enjoyed that a lot more.
Yeah. And we're talking at, you were singing at 8, 9, right about that age, or a little bit younger, that you were performing in some of the operas and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, so my great-grandpa was a huge bluegrass fan.
Okay.
And so he would have on, I guess it would have been CMT, or there was some kind of Grand Ole Opry channel that he would have just on repeat, and we'd watch reruns of. And, it would be George Jones and George Strait, and, it was Ricky Skaggs and some of those bluegrass guys. And there was a small town Opry about 45 minutes from my hometown. And he just signed me up for stuff.
Absolutely.
He bought me a Josh Turner record when I was about 8 years old, and he wanted me to learn Long Black Train for one of the family reunions. And you can imagine a 8-year-old trying to sing a Josh Turner song.
Before puberty and everything else that comes along in life.
Yeah. But I developed a love for, baritone bass voices. My grandpa sang bass in a gospel quartet.
Yeah.
And, I learned harmonies, and it was such a huge part of my life.
And you had both grandfathers influencers on your life, right?
Yeah, so the one grandpa was my dad's dad.
Okay.
He was a gospel singer, and he was a preacher. And he just had this beautiful bass voice that everyone in town, small town, knew my Papa Colin and his bass voice. And he wasn't a famous singer, but he was just the best singer I'd ever heard. He was my hero. And my great grandpa on my mama's side, he just fed me music. He fed me country music because he was a country boy. And I have no idea why it happened, but I guess he just saw my fascination with it, and he said, I believe in you, and I think you can be a country music star one day.
Did you ever reject it at any point?
I didn't know any better.
Okay.
I didn't know any better. I'd just really, really, really enjoyed music, and it provided me an escape. It provided me a place to go, and even though I didn't know it at the time, it was I'd spend when I did finally pick up a guitar and start writing songs. I mean, you couldn't find me. Like I'd be just in my room, holed up until 3 a.m, and my grandma would come in and check on me, just hey, knock on the door, just make sure you need anything. You okay? You've been in there 9 hours. I'm good. I'm just trying to finish this verse.
Yeah, for sure. Do me a favor. Will you sign your name on this sheet of paper? I want to see something if you don't mind. Not because I want your autograph, but I want to see something here. And for the listeners, go ahead.
Does it need to be in the lines?
No, it doesn't have to be. For the listeners, you're using your left hand.
Yes.
And you grew up using your. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You grew up using your left hand, but you play your guitar with your right hand.
Yeah.
And that's part of, and I love the South. I love the small towns.
Yeah.
But having the resources for somebody that grew up in a small town, left-handed, wasn't very plentiful, right?
No. So I played catcher in baseball too, and I learned everything right-handed because there was no such thing as like a left-handed pitcher's or catcher's mitt. Yeah. And so, and when there was, it costed extra money. So eventually my family saved up, but it took a couple of years to order one out of like a Sears catalog. And I got it for my birthday one year. And I remember just being so thankful and grateful that I could finally use my left hand playing ball. But I had to learn to be ambidextrous in a lot of things, and it was no different when I learned to play guitar. And so there was no such thing as a left-handed acoustic guitar in Greensboro, Kentucky, at least that I knew of. So that's how I learned. And for all I know, I could have been like somebody who could just absolutely shred the guitar if I could have had a left-handed guitar. But I learned right-handed. That's how I play today.
Absolutely.
So,
do you think it's a challenge for a musician? And I guess before I even ask that question, where would you consider yourself in regards to musicians in the country world? You met one of your role models, or at least somebody that inspires you, Tim McGraw, a couple months ago, I think, or a month ago. Where, from your standpoint, where do you fit in with that music industry right now?
Oh, I'm by far the least talented. 100% the least talented. But I would like to think that I'm one of the most grateful. I say this a lot, that music saved my life. And so really what I just hope to bring to the genre is honesty and an authenticity that is just authentic, to use the word twice, I guess.
That's right.
But, I started out just writing songs like it was an instinct. I bought a guitar when I was 15, saved up mowing grass, and first thing I did before I knew anything about the music business was, most people sit down and they try to learn their favorite song on the guitar, whether it's Sweet Home Alabama or a Metallica song or whatever. And first thing I did, just not knowing anything, was I tried to write a song. And thousands of songs later, that's what I'm still doing. So,
did you ever keep some of those things? That first writing, that first song.
The first song was I wrote it for my high school girlfriend. It was really bad. But I thought, man, she's gonna love this.
Yeah, did she love it?
You know what? She kind of stood there a blank stare, but I think she liked the thought of it more than she did the song
That's
itself.
cool. No, absolutely.
But yeah, man, it's just I had so many kind of I just naturally found my way into it, and the talent portion of it came from just thousands and thousands of hours of rehearsing, and not because I thought I was working. It was just because that's just what I love so much.
We're talking with Chase McDaniel this morning. Chase, you've played on the stage with very well-known artists. You are playing tonight, Granger Smith, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's been that moment that you were in kind of awe?
I met Tim McGraw back in February or March of this year, and talk about somebody who I just had no words to say. Like, I think Tim McGraw, for my lifetime, was kind of the soundtrack of everything that I've ever been through. And so I didn't have a lot to say to Tim. I let Tim talk when I was around Tim.
No.
He said, "Hey, Chase, how's it going?" And I was like, "Hey, you lead the conversation because I don't have nothing to say right now."
No, I think that's awesome. What obviously this is kind of a touchy subject, but you've talked about it.
Yeah.
The loss of your dad.
Yeah.
And that stage in your life.
Yeah.
For those listeners that kind of focus on your music, sometimes they don't get a chance to see the deeper person there, and the person that can struggle from time to time, especially when they're on stage and we're looking up towards them and stuff like that. But you've struggled in your life.
Yeah. Growing up, my dad was an addict, and my grandparents took me in when I was about 12, 13 years old, and gave me all the extra love that any kid could ever want or hope for. So, I consider myself very blessed to have had the best grandparents in the world, and recognize now that people get sick. And, growing up in a town that we did, life was hard. And there was so much grief in losing my dad. But now, being older and understanding some of those demons, I relate to it in a much different way. And I'm very grateful for the time that I got to have with him. I'm grateful for everything that he taught me and everything he taught me not to do.
Absolutely.
And I'm grateful for the experience that it gives me to then go to someone else who's struggling and say, "Hey, I've lost this person, and I'm struggling with grief right now, and I don't know how to cope." And they're listening to a song, or a song. I have a song called "Your Daughter" that's about a girl with an addicted father, and that song's actually inspired by my little sister.
Okay.
It's this has made all of those things worth it, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
No.
Yeah.
Very powerful. And that was one of the questions I was asked, is the lyrics in your music, are those real time, real life, able to relate to those. I'm going to turn to your helper. And I locked my staff out. Would you open that wooden door? I'm like,
there you go. Get him,
I'm going to be talking with Chase here in a second, so I apologize. But you guys are going from Ludington here down to Fowlerville.
Yes, sir.
What's that look like when you're opening for a big act like tonight? And you are a big act as well, yeah. But what is what's the preparation? What's the communication like? Or do they say, hey, we've got some expectations, and what's that like?
Yeah, I tell my boys, I said, make sure Granger's happy. Whatever you do, make sure Granger's happy. I just want to get on stage. If they tell you to play 60 minutes, play 59, play 58. Just make sure he's got as much time as he wants to do his thing and rock the stage, because it's his fans, and we're just there to get them warmed up. And if we make a few along the way, that means the world to us. But at the end of the day, I think Granger's a great dude. I haven't got the chance to meet him yet, but I've been a fan for a long time, and so we're honored to get the chance to open tonight on his farewell tour, which is crazy.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, it's
exciting.
I thought about this question this morning when I was getting ready, and I thought, do you know as an artist when you have, let's say, made it, or when you've reached that next plateau? What do you know that moment?
Well, I'll tell you, if you do know when you make it, I haven't yet. So I'm still waiting for that moment, if that's the case.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think everyone has a different definition of making it. I will say that I have worked very, very hard for everything that's come my way, and I've had a lot of incredible people come into my life this last year who believe in the music I'm making and what we're doing, and it's just filled my heart up with joy. But this thing's not slowing down anytime soon. At least I hope not.
No.
And making it for me might be one day retiring in a cabin in the woods without a TV or any cell phone service, and being like, I'm grateful for the life I got to live and for the stories I got to tell and for the people I got to meet.
Absolutely.
But for right now, we're working our tails off, and we're going to go try to meet as many people as we can and tell the story and try to help people cope with the world. So
absolutely. Best moment? What do you think? And I don't want to specify any particular moment, like on stage or off stage or so on and so forth. But what is your best moment of your life?
I feel like we keep beating it.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool. Yeah. Man, I got to play in a place in Napa Valley called Live in the Vineyard a few months ago, and it was just an opportunity to get in front of a bunch of people who have worked so hard their whole lives to be involved in the music industry. And I got invited to go out there and play a couple of songs acoustic, and I played a few new songs. I played a song called Blame It on Country Music that I wrote. I played Your Daughter, and I played a song called Somebody Like Me. Okay. And the reaction that I got out there from all of these people who, like I said, have worked their tails off to just be involved in this business. I got 2 standing ovations, and told my story, sang my songs that I wrote from my heart, and just one of the biggest moments of relief that I'm on the right path. And you have to have those when you're pouring your heart and soul into these things, and when you have bad days, you gotta love being told no in this business. You really do, and to an extent, I weirdly do. It's like to an extent it fills me. I'm like, yeah, keep telling me I can't do it. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna prove you wrong. But there's those days when that happens, and you're just like, yeah. I'm really glad we're doing this. So I think that's one of my best ones right now.
Makes you stronger, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
What about that bad moment? What about that moment? I mean, we talked about the loss of your dad. Obviously, that's that tears you through the heart. But what about from a music standpoint? Was there that moment that's like So I mean, I've had ups and downs throughout this whole journey. I mean, my life story is it's complex. I'll put it that way. But when COVID hit, I was in Nashville, and I had been trying to make it work already for about 5 or 6 years, and of course, the pandemic just did something to the music industry that no one was really prepared for. And found myself in about July with about $11 in my bank account, and no way to get groceries, no way to pay my rent, and this is more than just my dream. This is Mamaw's dream. This is Papaw's dream, and this is a family dream for me, too. And so we're
funnily, I don't think funnily is a word. We were having a party at my house that night. It's anticlimactic, I'll say that. Okay. And it was just this realization of this is probably the last night that I'm gonna get to have with my friends down here, and I got to hang it up. So I went out in the driveway to my car that was broke down, had the check engine light on, and I called my mama and I said, "Hey, do you have a bed back home I can go back to?" And she said, "Yeah, honey, it's yours. Come on back whenever you're ready." So I was super emotional during this whole process. And one of my buddies comes out half lit and he said, "Hey man, like what's going on?" I'm like, "Hey, leave me alone. I don't want to talk right now." And we fought back and forth for about half an hour, and he ended up lending me money to pay my rent that month. And in the next 2 weeks, I just gave it all I had, looking for jobs even harder. I'd already put in dozens and dozens and dozens. I put in another 100 of applications, and I got a job bussing tables. And they asked me how many shifts I wanted. I said every single one of them. Yeah. And I was working 17-hour shifts. I mean, sleeping 3 hours a night, writing songs. I got one more chance. And sometimes that's all you need. I saved up enough money to record one song. And the manager at the bar that I was working at, because I worked my way up to being a server and then a bartender, was making fun of me one night and played one of my songs over the speakers. And I'd been serving these two guys for a year, and they were like, "Hey, we really like this song. Do you mind if we play this for a friend of ours?" Okay. And it ended up being a legend in the music industry who's ended up being one of the most important people in my life, who introduced me to my now record deal. I just signed a record deal with Big Machine Records. So
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
I got shivers when you were talking about that.
Well, thanks. Yeah. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that yet, but yeah, thank you, Big Machine.
There you go. No, I think.
Thank you, Kevin Neal. That was, it's
absolutely.
Yeah, it's been a crazy ride, man, and I couldn't be more grateful for everybody who's come in my life, and I just feel like it's all at the right time. It's all in. It all worked out how it was supposed to.
Well, I asked that question a moment ago about plateau, and that was a plateau, obviously, for you. That was a moment where you could look back and say, "Hey, I don't necessarily have to bartend anymore," which isn't a bad thing. But do you feel like you can still have control of your life and still in the fast lane? You want to go as quickly as possible up to the top, right? You want to you want to have acts opening up for you constantly, which we did see last night at Stix. But to be able to still have your life, I guess. Does that make sense a little bit?
Yeah. You sacrifice for sure, because there's so much time that you put into this, and I recognize that that music and the business of this and being on the road and writing these songs, it's genuinely what's keeping me alive. I mean, there's something to this that like just fills me with so much fire and so much purpose that it's like I can't go until I get this out. Yeah. And I think everybody needs that, and I'm thankful that I have that and I found that. But the sacrifice is that I don't get to see Mama and Papa as much. They're in their 80s now, and they're don't have as much time left as I wish. I wish they had 50 more years here because I need it. But I have to carve out that time. I got to be more intentional about what I do with the time that I do have a little space in my brain. So,
and they're super proud of you. They're super proud.
Man, I am so blessed to be able to have them live long enough to have this unfold and see their pride in me. Because what else could you ask for as a grandson who is so grateful to be given a second chance to have two people encourage you like they have for me, to pour life into me like they have, and to give me all of the foundational blocks that you need to not end up being a product of a bad home. And they gave me unconditional love, and they taught me how to be curious. And I think those two things have taken me to where I am today.
And you've kind of built the foundation, but just even to fill in some of those details, you grew up in a small town. Yeah. I think I learned or read something that you lived in a trailer when you were growing up, right? Yeah.
Rejected by a girlfriend. I think I heard about that.
Yeah. And but are you able to?
A bunch of girls. All the girls.
That's all right. I'm same boat here. But in all reality, are you in a spot where you've gone back to your hometown, and people say, you know what, we're proud of that guy right there?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I haven't had as many opportunities to go back to my hometown as much as I like, but absolutely, I think that there's some support there, and I see it at least on social media, all the time. And I've got teachers who believed in me back then. I've got friends who, might have teased me when we were in middle school about singing too much in the hallway or whatever, but now they're singing my praises, which is cool, and they
your
were
songs.
they sang the songs, and they were always supportive. It was always in jest, but yeah, man, I've got a good hometown. I'm proud of.
That's good.
It's a small place, but it had good values, and that's something that I really respect a lot.
Good. I know you've got to get on the road here in a little bit. Could we take a few minutes to talk about specifically your music? Is that all right?
Absolutely, I would love to.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk. When you are starting to put that set together, that song set, for like tonight, last night.
Yeah.
Do you focus on looking at songs that you've already put out, or you like last night when we had a chance to chat? One of the things that stuck with me was you were going to introduce a couple of songs to the audience last night. Where do you fit in when you come up to that point?
Yeah, I want to put as much in there as people know as possible. So I'll throw in a couple of the covers, that people can sing along with, because people want to have a good time. They want to feel involved, and I like seeing people sing back like that. There's just nothing better. I mean, I love debuting new music, and I love getting the response of the crowd. But also when you already have music out and they know the music and they're singing it back to you, what an awesome feeling. Yeah. Just a moment of like, oh, this already? Like, then it's just immediately familial. We're family here already. Yeah. But yeah, I throw a couple new ones in there because, I want to treat the people who are coming to the shows special. They're making time out of their day. They're finding a babysitter. They're asking off work a little early at their job. Like, I get it. People work hard, and people are spending money to buy tickets to come see me. Like, I don't take that for granted. That's, like growing up, we didn't have money to spend tickets to go to a concert. Yeah. So like, I know what it's like to carve out. Like, hey, we got 20 extra bucks this week. We got to get the babysitter here, and we got to put this much gas in the car, and we got this much for food tonight. We got this much for drinks. Like, and we're gonna go see Chase. That's huge. Yeah. That's huge. And so, like, I want them to come and just have the best night of their life. Like, I want people to come out and just feel like, they had a party, and also the weight of the world was lifted off of their shoulders for an hour and a half. Yeah. And hopefully they take some of that home with them. So, some of the new ones I play them because they're important songs to me. And it gives me an opportunity to tell my story. It gives me an opportunity to connect to the people and the fans of the music. And but also it says, I think what it says is, an extra thank you for your hard work and getting here tonight. It means a lot to me.
That's kind of rewarding. I've never thought about it that way, but you're right. You're right. There has to be a song. Oh, they're listening to you this morning. There has to be a song that you completely hate and completely love. What do you think?
Well, I ain't gonna say it's one of my songs. I love all my songs. No.
Okay.
We've had some in the set, like some covers that we did and we didn't work. That don't fit your voice. I tell you, you'll hate any song that's hard to sing.
Oh yeah.
You'll end up hating any song that's hard to sing. If you don't hate it, you'll resent it just because like your throat hurts afterwards or whatever.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we've had a few of those. But I won't rat on anybody.
All right.
On
well, how about the love? One of your songs that you really love. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I gotta give a shout out to Project, because Project's changed my life and put me on the road and gave me an audience. Yeah. And I wrote it about not being perfect, and I'm grateful that I'm not the only one, because a lot of people listen to it like that song now, so that's cool. Yeah. And it's just given me the opportunity to chase my dream, and another one that's important to me that shows a totally different side of my personality and my soul, but also it's the same side of me, because they're all me, is your daughter. I think it tells a story that's so real and so true to me, and I think everyone has had their own relationship to it, of how they relate to it, and that's how I wanted to write it that way. I wanted to write it to where anyone could find themselves in it who's had a similar experience. For me, it happens to be inspired by my sister in my own home. But for you, it might be about a girlfriend, or it might be about an ex, or it might be about your wife, or you might be the wife and have had the the issues that the song talks about. But yeah, I just want to be real in music, and I want to be honest, and I want to hit every spectrum of experience. 'Cause I think that's what you got to do as a creator. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
You mentioned, and kind of cat's out of the bag a little bit, but
Yeah.
is working on an album now, right?
Working on something.
Okay. All right. Yeah, something.
Yeah, I mean, I think the album process is just like, hey, I've written this many thousand songs now. Let's pick 12 of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just that extra little curation of like, hey, this makes sense, and this all feels like my first story that I would like to tell. But yeah, definitely there's new music coming.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I can say about
No,
it.
but yeah, we
But
won't go too much into it. But I guess the last question, so that we don't dive too much into it. But in a process like that, we always look at movies and TV shows and how much involvement the artist has and such. Do you want to have that involvement picking those songs?
Yeah, I have a great team that's helping me curate things in a way that feels really special.
Okay.
But I think that I always have to be involved. I don't know if there's ever going to be a world where that I can't be, because the music is so authentic, and it's telling a story. It's telling my story, and so I think me being uninvolved would be. It wouldn't be authentic to the music. It wouldn't be authentic to the art. So
Yeah, good point. Last couple questions. Your message to your fans. There has to be that. You wouldn't be where you're at if you didn't have those fans. You have had friends and your family over life, and obviously that foundation. But as your fan base grows, we look at every artist, and they are either going to be successful because of what they are able to provide. We talk about Taylor Swift, right? And she's on her concert tour, and all her Swift, fans everywhere, and singing their songs and such. What do you think that connection for you, or what that message for you when it comes to your fans would be?
I say this at my shows, and I mean it. What I hope to provide is hope. I tell people that, we're living in a world today that's crazy, and I don't claim to know how to fix it at all. But I think I've been given a couple second chances in life, and I say a couple because there's been more than one, to just deliver a message that you matter so much more than you could ever imagine. And we deal with some things in our head that people can't see. And it can make you think you're crazy, and it can make you think that there's no way you can ever get better. And I just want to be able to provide a little evidence that that's not true, that no matter how dark it gets in your head, no matter how long you've been dealing with it, that if you stick around and stay curious, life can feel good again. And that's my message. It's true. It's been true for me. I feel really good most days now. Yeah. And, there was a time in my life when, I thought there's no way a brain can feel this bad and ever feel normal again. And the fact that today I can wake up, take a deep breath, and come in here at your radio station and talk to your audience, your fans, and tell my story and feel good, man, I wish I had that evidence 7 years ago. Yeah, and I hope someone hears that and can say, you know what, I'm going to give it another day. I'm going to give it another month. Whatever it takes. It takes time. But
that 7 years is a short time. I mean, you've been through a lot.
In the scheme of things, it sure is, especially when you got a whole life ahead. So
yeah. Well, I commend you, and it's an honor to have chatted with you this morning.
Same here.
I appreciate that. You're headed to Fowlerville. You're going to be playing tonight. First song on your set. What do you think you'll play tonight?
It's going to be an original song, and it's going to be called "Came Out of Nowhere," and it's unreleased. And I'm going to run onto the stage like I'm going to come out of nowhere on that song.
I love it. No, that's awesome.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah. That's great. Well, we appreciate you, and hopefully we'll be able to connect with you in the future. I know Doc Reamer and the team there, they want to have you back already based on what happened last night.
We had a great time last night. We bowled until our arms were sore, and I might have tore a rotator cuff. I don't even know. But we had a great time.
What'd you bowl with, your left hand or right hand?
I bowled right-handed. Okay, no, but that's real. That feels right. I don't know why, but bowling's right-handed for whatever reason. So.
That's funny. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we appreciate you, and thanks for being here.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me. Appreciate you.
We're gonna send it back to country music, your new country and your all-time favorites on Hot Country Hits 99.9. For those on Mom FM, we'll send it back there for just a couple minutes with a couple songs, and then we've got Leading West Michigan coming up in just a few minutes. But again, Chase McDaniel, make sure that you check him out, listen to the music. The great website. Got a chance to check that out. So you Google Chase McDaniel, and you can find all that information, and they can keep up with you on your tour. You're gonna be busy over the next few months, I hear, right?
Yeah, we're going to be gone a lot.
Yeah, no, but it's worth it. It is worth it.
Absolutely.
Well, we appreciate you. Let's send it back on Hot Country Hits 99.9, and then we'll wrap up here on Mom FM in just a moment. All right, Chase, appreciate you being here. Let me bring up our sister station. I juggle a lot in the morning,
dude, I know.
with everything
a lot
here.
of buttons to click here.
Absolutely, but we've got our producer that's going to come in just a second with us. But again, appreciate you being here.
Oh, man.
Blue Moon, Bubblegum, Mackinac Island Peanut Butter Fudge, Chocolate Peanut, Truffles and Fudge, and Michigan Pothole. We all know these signature favorites from House of Flavors, right? Did you know when you work at House of Flavors Manufacturing, you get free ice cream to take home? House of Flavors Manufacturing is hiring for all positions in every shift. Take pride in your work and do it to the best of your abilities. Commitment and reliability, career growth and